Good morning and welcome. My name is Jenn Espinosa-Goswami. I am a certified speaker coach and the owner of Waitlist, but more importantly, I'm also the host of the Fearless Women Minneapolis Summit. And today I'm bringing to you Cate Hollowitsch. Welcome, Cate.
Jen, thanks for having me.
I'm super excited to hear more about your talk because your talk is titled The F Word. Now, we're not going to reveal everything right now, but if people are joining us live, let us know in the comments, what do you think the F word stands for? And then Cate will slowly reveal that after she tells a little bit more about her and her business. But Cate, I'd love to hear more from you. What do you do and who do you serve?
Well, I feel like I have a bunch of part-time jobs, actually. I am an adjunct instructor at our local community college, so I teach our upcoming young minds about marketing and digital things and personal branding, and I love that. And I also work in corporate America. I'm a chief marketing officer in a private equity firm in the Midwest. And I love, on another little side hustle, I love helping entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, small businesses figure out their branding and their business strategy and some of their marketing tactics and help them get that organized in a plan that they can actually implement. I am an adversary of spray and pray marketing. I hate that. And so I like to help folks get all of that organized so that they don't have to chase every little squirrel that comes across their path.
Interesting. We'll get to spray and pray marketing in just a moment. But what is the name of your, I believe are you the owner or team member of Nesna Ventures? Is that correct?
That is my corporate America job. So Nesna Ventures is a Midwest private equity company. They have several businesses in all sorts of different industries around the Midwest. One of the companies is global, and it's just too many different industries to name. But we run marketing as shared services. So none of those portfolio companies have a marketing function built in them. They use my team. So it's we have 6 people that do all the marketing and graphic design for 7 portfolio companies, plus the M&A side of the organization and the recruitment side too.
Wow. Well, you're certainly a
Mhm.
multifaceted individual and you have a lot going on. How do you balance all of these, as you mentioned, part-time jobs or ventures that you're working on?
Well, I don't want people to misinterpret this as me being a workaholic because I'm not, but work is my hobby. I love marketing, love it. I love the branding. I love business strategy. I love sitting up in the big vision of where organizations can go and how they can grow. And so it's just constantly on my mind. I see a commercial and it makes me think of a solution for somebody, or I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with the notebook next to the bed and have to write down all the crazy ideas I have. Or if a Saturday morning comes around and something is burning and I have solved a problem, I got to just go get it out. I got to go work on it. So I balance that partly because my children are all grown and out of the house. And so I don't have all the little life distractions in that regard. So that helps. I can be flexible with my time, and when something is hot and I get a great idea or know how to solve a problem at 7 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning, I just have the freedom to do it, which is lovely. And so I take good use of my energy. I know exactly when my brain is on fire. I took some time to do a mind map of my energy and when everything is flowing for me, and I just take advantage of it. I work when my brain is on fire and I rest when it isn't and do other things. So it's just kind of navigating. As you know, work life balance is a myth. It's just navigating when you can take advantage of a situation and put your efforts to good use and not useless use, and just balance it all. There's days when life is more demanding and days when work is more demanding, but over time it evens out.
I agree. And I love your approach to things. As you mentioned, your brain being on fire is a time to go, right? It's the green light,
Mhm.
it's the do the things, but you also build in time for rest, which is super important. And I think a message that people need to hear more, especially women, because as you all know and have heard about, the Fearless Women Summit is especially for women. So women who are feeling overwhelmed, confused, struggling, stuck. Any of those kinds of things, that's who we would like to have in the room with us. So, Cate, what made you intrigued to be a speaker at Fearless Women?
Well, partly the topic, because once we swing back around to that, it'll make sense how it's a really good fit. I'm also just passionate about women, clearly. I think that there's so many women out there that have the potential to do all the things they're dreaming of doing. And so any opportunity that I can get in front of them and give them my thoughts on how it impacted me, or how I chose to be fearless, how I choose to show up that way. That's always important to me too. And Minneapolis is in my backyard, so that was another reason why this one was very important to me, because it's easy for me to get there. And I just believe in the mission of these events and what they're doing to help women take the next step of whatever they're dreaming in life, personal or professional.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's actually one of the main reasons I brought Fearless to Minneapolis as well. This is the first time we're hosting Fearless in Minneapolis. Now, this is through One Woman, which is an international global events company and women empowerment company. So they've been everywhere in the world, except somehow missed the Twin Cities. I'm not sure how that's
Yes.
possible because Charlotte lives in Toronto. So she's the founder of One Woman. But like you, I also felt the need to kind of bring women together in community, but also share our stories about what it means to us personally and individually to be fearless. So, to answer that question, Cate, what do you think makes you fearless?
Well, I might get a little bit emotional, but maybe not. I don't know.
That's
I
okay too.
I'm an only girl. I grew up with a bunch of boys, and I think on one hand, my parents, raised me as a girl, but then also I kind of had this raised me as a boy problem. They made me do all the things the boys were doing, and my dad always had that same mindset of you can do whatever they're doing. Why wouldn't you do that? He made me take my driver's test on a stick shift. And I thank him to this day because I made all my girls do that too. So it's things like that I think it's been kind of ingrained in me from them that I can do whatever I want. And so I've always just had that mentality of why can't I? What do you mean? So there's an inherent fearlessness in me. But of course, like everybody else, we get, imposter syndrome or whatever you want to call it these days. We get a little bit like, ooh, I don't know if I can do that. And for me, it's just been that I can see the thing I want. I can see it out there. I can envision it. I know how to get there. And almost always, the only thing that is standing in my way is fear of something. It, Sometimes it's a big fear. Sometimes it's a little fear. Sometimes it's useless. It's like just a dumb thing that it's not even real. It's just in my head. And so I've always just kind of had to remind myself of that, of there's really nothing standing in your way except yourself. You're the only person holding you back. And then at Christmas time, I got a lovely little Christmas present, and she's 6 months old. My little granddaughter, I have a grandson who's 2, but my granddaughter came at Christmas, and my children named her after me, which I was like, what? Ah, very flattering. Very, very much an honor, but that now has made me even more fearless because I have to be for her. So now I look at her. I don't worry so much about my grandson. That kid is fearless. He's got no fear in him whatsoever. He'll do it. He'll do anything. Little risk taker. But her, I feel like, as my namesake, I have to leave a legacy for her. I have to show her very physically, be fearless. Go and do all the things that your little head is dreaming, and I want her to be proud of it. So I'm even more fearless now. Now I'm just like, yeah, whatever, let's do it. We'll figure it out later, and just take a leap. Why not? I have nothing to lose. So
I can't believe you have 2 grandbabies. Oh my goodness.
you're the
And one named
best
after you.
ever. Yeah, you're the best ever. When people
That's so
say that
sweet.
grandchildren are a game changer, it is a true statement. It's true. They are the best thing in the whole world. But that's not what
Wow.
we're here to talk about. I could talk about them all day, but I'm sure that is not your game plan.
Well, it's okay because that's part of who you are. And I think it's important for us to recognize that, as women, we have many things going on in our lives, and some of them have to do with our business adventures, but some of them are very personal. And as you mentioned, your Christmas granddaughter, she's part of what inspires you to be
Yep.
fearless. And so that's not something you want to separate from how you're showing up on stage either. So I appreciate knowing that about you and knowing that that inspires you to take your fearlessness to maybe a different level there. Okay, so without further ado, I know I've teased you folks plenty. So the F word, Cate, tell us, like, what does that stand for? And if you have a big reveal in your speech, you can save it for that. But tell us, without telling us, I guess, what are you going to be talking about?
It's not a big reveal because for you, I just used the short version of the title, the F word, but for other conferences, there's a subtitle that goes after it that actually says. So um, it is not the F word that we all know and love. Although there is a small part of me that would really love to do a keynote on that F word because that could be fun, but very inappropriate. So we're not going to talk about that. So this is a take on my very first keynote that I ever did ever in my whole entire life. And it is nothing like the original. I've morphed it so far from the original keynote, but it's one of those that's kind of like near and dear to my heart because it's one of the first ones that I did. And so fear, the F word in my keynote stands for fear, of course. But I've also turned it into an acronym because I love mnemonic devices. And I think that people need quick and easy ways to remember things. And so this keynote, the F word, is about fear. And I tell a story. I start the story with a girl and something that happened to her. And then we discuss, in my bigger, longer keynote, I discuss the human reactions to fear and how it plays out in people physically and emotionally and mentally. And then I talk about some things I know to be true about fear. And one of those things eventually became a TEDx talk that I did in 2024 about one specific little element of fear. And so it morphed from that. And then I end it with the mnemonic device. So FEAR each stand for a tip or a trick that I have for the audience on what they can do when they feel those fearful things coming up about something big they want to do and how they can use those to help themselves move past it. So that's the big reveal. There's still plenty to be found in the actual day of that I haven't revealed, but that's basically the gist of that talk. So
Ooh, I'm excited to learn more. And I'm not going to reveal this to the audience, but I have seen the PowerPoint slides and I'm very intrigued from what I've seen and what I've heard so far. And Cate, I didn't know you had a TED Talk. You absolutely
yeah.
need to post your TED Talk below this video so
Oh, I
folks can
will.
go and watch your TED Talk. And I need to share that too, because I personally have never done a TED Talk. There's reasons why, just because I started as a professional speaker and TED Talks are unpaid and you're not allowed to promote and things like that. So it just didn't fit into my goals for myself as a speaker. But kudos to you because it's a courageous move to stand on the big red dot. And it's quite an application process, quite a selection process. So clearly you are a bright, brave, and courageous person who's not afraid to take risks, who's not afraid to put yourself out there. Was the name of your TED Talk the same as this one with
Oh,
more
no.
controversy?
So actually, you're going to think I'm even more fearless when you watch it because I threw myself under the bus. It's called Confessions of a Corporate Cobra. And I talk about how I sabotaged a coworker in my 20s. So I just own the ick. Like I was a horrible coworker in my 20s and I just owned it and told the entire world.
Wow. So you have a corporate background, which again,
Mhm.
we're peeling back the layers here. What
Yep.
did you used to do in corporate?
I've always done marketing if you think about
Got
just
it.
the functional area, but the industries and the ways and the things that I've marketed have been very different. I did real estate in my 20s, sponsorships, donations, events, healthcare, construction, agriculture, manufacturing, higher education. Like I've kind of been all over the place in the different paths that's taken, but it's always been marketing at the core of it. So
Wow, very cool.
yeah.
Those are very distinct and different kinds of industries. So it seems like you might have had to relearn or apply marketing in a different way for agriculture versus
Yep.
sponsorships and things like that. That seems like a lot of learning, on the job learning and things like that. But
Mhm.
I can't wait to listen to your confessions of a corporate
Cobra.
cobra. Yes. That'll be a great one to listen to. Now, in the beginning of today's interview, you mentioned something about spray and
And
pray
pray.
marketing. So I
Mhm.
feel like I might have heard that term before, but for the people who are watching who haven't heard that, what does that mean?
Well, it's kind of if I think entrepreneurs, even solopreneurs, can grasp it really quickly. But I guess even in corporate America, you can. So it starts from scarcity mindset, which is also really relevant for a Fearless Women Summit. When you get into scarcity mindset, fear is driven by that you think, I don't have enough. I don't have enough revenue. I don't have enough leads. I don't have enough business coming in. My pipeline is getting empty. Rather than staying true to the path, that this is the path I set out for myself, my business, my organization, these are the tactics we're going to take. This is the plan. This is what's happening Monday and Tuesday. They start spraying and praying. They just think, I've got to sponsor everything and I've got to be at this and I have to have a presence on every social channel. Maybe your target audience isn't on TikTok, but everybody starts thinking, I guess I have to go be on TikTok. And they start spraying and praying. They start doing a little bit to try to be everything to everyone because they don't want to miss any financial opportunity that comes at them, even if it isn't the right one. And all revenue is not created equal. You shouldn't be chasing every single penny because you're stepping over dollars to get there. And you've got to stay focused. So it's doing the opposite of what your gut and your heart and your mind are telling you to do. It's your body is reacting from that fear and telling you to go grab every opportunity that comes up when really you need to do the opposite. You need to pull back in and stay focused to the plan that you set out from yourself. So I am an adversary of spray and pray marketing. Stick to the plan.
Interesting. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you kind of throw spaghetti against the wall and whatever works, and then you double down on whatever is working. But I understand, like, because there's a time period in which you have to let the results speak for themselves. And
Yeah.
sometimes if we get impatient, we're not waiting for that time period. We're jumping the gun and we don't
Right.
have enough evidence or data to support that something is working or not working. And I see this happening all the time with people with speaking. They'll complete one speech and then they'll create an entirely new speech for the next thing. And I'm like, well, no, it's all about the signature speech, like the same speech, but you just adjust it and customize it according to
Right.
different audiences. It's still your core content. It's still the core way in which you support people. So I think a lot of people just kind of like test it out. And if they don't get a certain reaction, they're like, oh, well, nobody liked it, so I'm going to start from scratch. That's not necessarily the case. So I totally resonate with what you
Right.
mean with this spray and pray.
Yeah. Because your idea of putting spaghetti against the wall is not wrong, but when you convert it to spray and pray marketing, you've gone too far. So think of spaghetti against the wall like A B testing. I know my audience and I know my vertical and I know where I'm going. As a speaker, for example, I like speaking in front of audiences that are connected to my job, that is going to lead to more business for the things that I'm doing. One of those is not healthcare. I don't necessarily go after healthcare conferences or healthcare opportunities because it doesn't align with the things that I'm trying to do. Spray and pray marketing would be if I start actively going after healthcare because they're willing to pay me or hire me or whatever, even though I know it is not the vertical that I need to be in, versus spaghetti against the wall. If I know that one of our portfolio companies is musical instruments, if I know that there's a bunch of opportunities to speak in the musical instrument industry, throwing spaghetti against the wall would be trying that one versus that one, or thinking through a certain type of musical player or a certain type of a musical store dealer and trying to generate leads from one of them versus the other. That's throwing spaghetti against the wall. That's appropriate. But the spray and pray marketing would be, yes, I sell musical instruments, but I'm going to go deal with healthcare people now. Like, not connected. You're chasing the squirrel because you're desperate for any kind of revenue to hit the bottom line, even though it's not going to pay out in the end. Because the energy, that your point about rewriting keynotes, the energy that's required for you to rewrite the keynote is time, and time is money. And if you're rewriting that keynote for an audience that isn't 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or less away from your target, you've lost money on the deal. Because now if you take that and do it like a CFO would do it, take your labor and gross margin out what you are getting for that opportunity versus the amount of effort and work you put into it, you're not making a profit. So
Mm.
the chasing all of that to rewrite a keynote to go after an audience that isn't really where you want to be, you're not actually making profit. So it's that stay the course. Like, this is the group that I've decided, this is my target audience. You got to just keep working it. And if you've got longer stretches between opportunities, you got to double down on the existing audience, not go find a random one that isn't connected to your game plan.
That's a good point. Speaking of double down, if you're watching this video and you're like, well, I haven't gotten my ticket to Fearless Women yet, what are you waiting for? You're going to hear from Cate. You're going to hear from Vicky. You're going to hear from Christy. You're going to hear from Janet and Dr. Gray. So many amazing women who are sharing their Fearless story. But more than that, you'll have an opportunity to network. You'll have an opportunity to talk to vendors who are going to be offering amazing goods and services. And I believe, Cate, catch me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you're also contributing to a giveaway. We're hosting a giveaway for one lucky person in the audience. Remind me again of what you're offering for the giveaway.
I'm giving away an hour of my time.
Ooh.
For whatever you want to talk about. If you want to talk about being more fearless, or if you're trying to start a business and you want some advice, or you're already in a business and you want me to review your brand and your strategy documents, you can use that hour for whatever fits in your wheelhouse for where you're trying to go next. I'm very excited about it, actually. I love meeting new people. So
Me too. It's one of the funnest things in the world to do. And I will say, as someone who has talked to many people who help with brand and strategy, this is a very valuable consult because a lot of people misinterpret what brand means, misinterpret what is involved in brand. And I mean, as someone who's pivoted from health coaching to speaker coaching, I also know that I did a lot of things wrong when I was rebranding. So don't make the mistakes that Jenn did, and take advantage of this giveaway opportunity because I mean, branding is a difficult thing. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of thought. It takes a lot of intention and strategy. And Cate has all the tools and the goods to help you get there. So I'm
and
super
honestly, maybe
excited.
somebody who wins wants to do a TEDx talk, and I can just tell them how I did it. Doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but I can even talk about that if they want. So whatever is burning in their soul for that hour, I would love to help them out.
Super excited to hear more about that. All right. So I always like to ask, and not to throw you unawares, Cate, but what is one thing that we wouldn't, like the audience, people who are seeing you in this interview, wouldn't know about you just based on what you're posting publicly about yourself? What is one small thing that we wouldn't know?
I love this because when we get new hires at the office, we're supposed to share a fun fact when they have to meet with the executives. And I always share the same fun fact, which I'm going to do here because it has nothing to do with work and it just shocks people. And one time I didn't do it and I got harassed by the HR team about what your other fun fact is so much better. So the one thing, I'm just going to say it, then I'm not going to explain. My ex-husband, my starter husband, and my forever husband have the same first name.
Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not.
Totally, no, yeah, totally coincidence, but
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that fun fact because again, we don't always talk about some of our personal details. You've already shared some of your personal details, which I really appreciate. But I'm super excited for this event. I'm super excited to hear your talk on fear. And I think that if you're willing, I have one more question because it's one thing to have the fear and to do the thing anyway because it's that important to you. But are you willing to share one time in your life when you were genuinely afraid and didn't know how to proceed?
yeah, I don't want to share the details. It was work related, and I don't want to share the details, but I did have a time in my life. It was after the time of the TED talk, the TEDx talk, where I was genuinely afraid. I was a single mother, and I had two little kids. My starter husband and I were co-parenting, and everything there was fine. But I still had to do things on my own. I had to make a financially stable house for them and for myself, and I had to advance my career. And I had a moment where I did not know what was coming next from day one to day two to day three, and I didn't know how to solve the problem. Should I cash in my 401k and live off that? I ended up moving a million states away and moved back in with my dad and took my girls with me, and we lived with my dad for a few years until I could get back on my feet. And it was the scariest time of my life, and I probably aged 10 years in that time frame.
Thank you for sharing. I know it can be difficult sometimes, and I appreciate that you're willing to be vulnerable that way. Shout out to parents who let us move
Yeah.
back in when we need that support and who are never like letting us out in the dark trying to figure things out on our own. It's great to have a support system, to have someone to fall back on who is like, I got you. I'm there for you, whatever you need. Community cannot be undervalued. It is definitely something that's important, whether it's your family or the family that you choose. There are people in your life who probably will be willing to step up and support you. So I appreciate you sharing that. We all feel fear, even if we have the tools
Yeah.
and skills to go past the fear. We all feel it. So I appreciate that you were willing to share that experience. What is one thing you're looking forward to on August 9th? Of course, your talk, but one other thing you might be looking forward to on August 9th.
Well, I'm hoping that I can convince one of my kids to come with me and watch me in action. Just because they watch me through the videos, you know what I mean? But I would really love if I could get one or more of them to go and be there. So,
Ooh,
yeah, I
yeah.
know. I'm really I think one of them clicked like interested or something when I put the Facebook post of the event in my Facebook feed. So I need to text all of them today and tell them I'll buy their ticket if they if they want to go. But I very rarely get them in my audiences live, and since this one is so close to all of us, it would be kind of fun if I
How
could
many
get them
children do
there.
you have?
I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters. Oh, come on,
Yeah,
girls. This is an all ages event. So if you're listening and you're like, well, I've got maybe a teenager or I've got a mother or a grandmother, is this an appropriate place for them? All ages event. We've had
yeah,
girls as young as 8 years old. We've had women as old as 90 years old. So we want every woman to be in that room. So Kate's daughters, if you're listening to this, thank you for supporting your mom. This is awesome. But support her by being in the room with her as well.
yeah,
When I first started my speaking business, I brought my teenager with me to quite a few of my speaking engagements. There were multiple reasons. Some of them were personal, why she always came with me, but it created a different sort of feeling, and she got to experience me. It was kind of like take your daughter to work day, because she was
yes,
coming with me, she was seeing what I was
yep.
doing, she was hearing what I was talking about. The best time in the world was when, like, 2 weeks later, she would repeat something back to me that I had shared in one of my speeches, and I'm like, oh, you really are listening, aren't you? It was so sweet.
Same. I've brought them to work with me their whole lives and variations of that, but this kind of new professional speaker side of me, they've never really been live in the audience. My husband came to the TEDx talk, so he got to see one, but yeah, it would be kind of fun because it is kind of relevant to my F word talk as well. So,
Yes, yes. And shout
yeah,
out to supportive husbands as well. My husband has been there for me from the beginning, and he will be behind the scenes helping out at the event as well. So shout
yeah,
out to our supportive husbands out there who
yes.
are there behind us
Mhm.
cheering us on, because we accept all of the support that folks throw our way, because we also need a little boost from time to time. Well,
Yeah.
Kate, it's been great learning more about you, learning more about the F word and about your family. I look forward to seeing you at the stage. Is there one quote or thought you would like to leave us with before we close today's interview?
Oh gosh. That's like the one question I'm not prepared for. I have kind of so many catchphrases, and my favorite one that I always ask people is to what end? When you're thinking about doing something and you're not sure if you should, ask yourself, to what end? Is it furthering the goal or the dream that you're thinking about, or does it not have a reason or a purpose in your life? So, to what end is my quote.
Ooh, now I have to think through what would that be for me. So thank you for getting me thinking and being challenged here. As a coach, usually I don't get the receiving end of that. So thank you for that. Kate, where
There you
can we
go.
connect with you? What is the best way for folks who are listening to connect with you?
LinkedIn, I am the only human on earth with this name. If you type that in, you'll find me. It's super easy. My TEDx talk comes up, my LinkedIn profile comes up, but definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you want to connect personally, send me a note through the DMs on LinkedIn, and I'll send you my calendar link and all the fun stuff. So LinkedIn is the easiest way to find me.
Make sure to connect with Kate. She is a joy to talk to and to be around, and she brings a lot of expertise. So even if you just want to have a casual chat, she is up for connecting with you. So check out her LinkedIn profile, and we'll send links below this video as well. Well, that concludes today's interview. If you have not purchased your ticket to Fearless Women Minneapolis, what are you waiting for? We do still have a promotional deal going on right now. If you can rustle up 3 girlfriends, maybe 4 girlfriends, buy 3 VIP tickets, which includes lunch, it includes preferred seating. You're going to have a full day, 9 to 4:30, but you also get that special VIP treatment, and your 4th ticket is free. That promotion is going on through July 15th. So check out the link below these videos, and we would love to see you at the event. Thank you for joining us today, Kate, and we'll see you on the stage.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Take care.
Bye.